Alastor was not born into power, he was born into silence. New Orleans, early 1900s, a city full of music, heat and secrets. He grew up in a small home with thin walls and a mother who worked too hard and spoke too little. His father existed only as a shadow, sometimes present, mostly gone. When he did appear, he brought noise, anger, the kind that left marks. Alastor learned early that the world did not reward weakness. He watched, he listened. He learned how people broke. As a child, he smiled often, too often. People called him polite, charming, bright. They did not see the way his eyes stayed still when others laughed. They did not notice how he studied pain like a puzzle waiting to be solved. School bored him. Rules felt like cages built for smaller minds. Teachers praised him, but he saw through them. Authority meant nothing if it could be outsmarted. And Alastor could outsmart anyone. He learned voices, tones, accents. He could mimic anyone after hearing them once. He treated language like a weapon. Every word placed with intent. Every sentence crafted to control. He started small, manipulating classmates, turning friends against each other, watching the fallout with quiet fascination. Not for revenge, not for gain, just to see how far he could push people before they snapped. His mother noticed something was off. She tried to guide him, tried to instill values, kindness, empathy. He listened, he nodded, he smiled. But inside, those words felt empty. Concepts without weight. He did not feel what others felt. He only understood how to imitate it. And imitation was enough to survive. As he grew older, the city shaped him further. New Orleans was alive at night. Jazz spilled from every corner. Voices overlapped, stories unfolded in dark alleys and crowded bars. Alastor found comfort in that chaos. It gave him cover. He could disappear in plain sight. He started working at a radio station as a young man. His voice carried, smooth, confident, hypnotic. People tuned in. They trusted him. They felt like he spoke directly to them, like he knew them. That was the illusion he perfected. But radio was not enough. It gave him attention, not control. And control was what he craved. The first time he killed, it was not planned, not fully. It happened fast. A man followed him down a dim street, drunk, loud, disrespectful. The kind of man who thought the world belonged to him. Words were exchanged, then silence, then blood. Alastor stood over the body, breathing steady. No panic, no regret, just curiosity. He expected to feel something. Fear, guilt, relief. Nothing came. Just that same quiet interest, like turning a page in a book. That night changed everything. He realized something important. He was not bound by the same limits as others. Where they hesitated, he moved. Where they feared, he observed. Killing was not an act of rage for him. It was an experiment. A performance. He began to plan, to choose targets, not random, never random. He selected people who would not be missed immediately. Criminals, drifters, the forgotten. He justified nothing. He needed no reason. He simply preferred victims who would not disrupt his routine. He developed rituals, clean, precise, almost artistic. He would study his targets first, learn their habits, their routes, their weaknesses. Then he would strike, quick, efficient, silent. And afterward he would return home, sit down, turn on the radio and listen to his own voice fill the room. That contrast thrilled him. The man on the air spoke with warmth. The man in the shadows carved through lives without hesitation. Rumors started to spread, bodies found in strange conditions, disappearances with no explanation. The police grew uneasy, but Alastor stayed ahead. He understood patterns, so he broke them. He changed methods, changed locations. He turned his crimes into a shifting maze. No clear trail, no consistent signature, just enough chaos to keep investigators chasing ghosts. At the radio station, his popularity grew. His show became a staple. People loved his energy, his humor, his unpredictability. He played music that made people feel alive, jazz that pulsed like a heartbeat. Between songs, he told stories, some real, some twisted, some that hinted at things no one could prove. Listeners laughed. They trusted him. They invited him into their homes every night. They had no idea who they were listening to. There was one moment that defined him more than any other. A woman called into his show. Her voice shaky. She spoke about fear, about something watching her, following her. Alastor listened. He asked questions, calm, gentle, reassuring. He told her she was safe. Told her the world was not as cruel as she believed. His tone wrapped around her like a blanket. She thanked him, hung up. The next night she was gone. No trace. The city whispered about it. Alastor smiled as he spoke into the microphone, his voice steady as ever. He began to enjoy the duality, the contrast between his public image and private actions. It became a game, a performance within a performance. He would discuss morality on air, talk about right and wrong, about justice, about fear, all while knowing he stood outside those concepts completely. He was not bound by them. He controlled them. His confidence grew. Maybe too much. One night while hunting, something went wrong. A hunter became the hunted. A mistake. Small, but enough. He was caught off guard. A struggle. A shot fired. Pain exploded through his body. He fell. Blood pooled beneath him. The world blurred. For the first time, he felt something close to fear. Not of death itself, but of losing control, of the story ending before he decided it should. As he lay there, fading, he laughed. Quiet at first, then louder. The absurdity of it all amused him. After everything, after all his careful planning, he would die like anyone else. No grand finale, no perfect ending, just a body in the dirt. But even in that moment, his mind worked. He wondered what came next, if anything came next. And that curiosity followed him into darkness. Death did not erase him. It transformed him. When Alastor opened his eyes again, he was no longer human. The world around him had shifted into something grotesque and vibrant. Hell, a place where chaos ruled and power dictated survival. For most, it was a nightmare. For Alastor, it was opportunity. He rose quickly, faster than anyone expected. His nature adapted perfectly to this new environment. In hell, strength mattered, so did fear. And Alastor understood fear better than most. He did not rely on brute force alone. He used presence, voice, reputation. He turned himself into a legend, the radio demon, a name that spread like wildfire. He did not hide what he was anymore. There was no need. In hell, monsters walked openly, but even among them, he stood apart. His power felt different, refined, controlled. He did not lash out without purpose. Every action had intent. Every display of power was calculated to send a message. He wanted others to know exactly who he was and to fear him for it. But even in hell, he kept his habits. The smile never left his face. The voice remained smooth, charming. He still treated everything like a show, because to him it was. Existence itself was entertainment, a stage where he could perform without limits. Yet beneath all of that, there was something else. Not regret, not guilt, something quieter, a kind of emptiness. He had spent his entire life studying others, controlling them, breaking them. But he had never truly understood connection, never felt it. And even in hell, surrounded by chaos and noise, that absence remained. So he filled it the only way he knew how, with control, with games, with power. He inserted himself into larger plans, bigger stages, not because he needed them, but because they gave him something to do, something to observe, something to manipulate. Alastor did not become who he was because of one moment. He built himself piece by piece, choice by choice, from a quiet child in a broken home to a voice that captivated a city, from a man who studied fear to a demon who embodied it. His story is not about tragedy in the way people expect. There is no single event that explains him, no turning point that justifies his actions. His tragedy is simpler. He was born without the ability to feel what makes people human. And in a world built on those feelings, that made him an outsider from the start. Everything else followed naturally from that truth. Now he stands in hell, smiling as always, watching, listening, waiting for the next act to begin.